My full name is Charles Chester Clapper, and I come from Altoona, Pennsylvania. I signed up for the draft in 1943, and as I turned 18, 18 was also the legal age for drinking alcohol at that time. And so I was supposed to report for induction, but I didn't make it because I partied the night before with my friends. It was going to be the last day there. So when I finally went in, and someone asked my name, and I told him, and he said, he just hollered out, "Hey, Mr. Clapper's here." And somebody else come out and started talking to me. He said, by the way, he said, "Do you have anything against the Marine Corps?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, that's good because you're in it." And well, that was about the end of it. They were scheduled for a train to go to Pittsburgh, and then from Pittsburgh we moved west by rail to San Diego. We took a boot training at San Diego Naval Base and loaded on a Dutch ship that had been converted for Allied transport. We had a Dutch command, a U.S. Navy crew, and Marine passengers. We headed into the Pacific. About 5 miles out, I guess, we were directed to get below deck. So we all went down below deck. They had a 5-inch gun on the back of that boat, and they were practicing with it. To us, it sounded like it was inside a drum. But anyway, that was over, so we started sailing west. And at that time, the Marine Corps, the travel was about 5 knots an hour, and we traveled in a zigzag fashion, anti-submarine tactic. And we were going heading to Hawaii, Pearl Harbor. We got to Pearl Harbor, and everybody was excited to get to Honolulu, but they told us you got 3 days quarantine before you could go ashore. Well, we're going to live with that. But on the third day, the morning of the third day, they weighed anchor and sailed. And we left Pearl Harbor and went to Eniwetok, which is the island they just took from the Japanese not long before that. But and we stayed there. There was unrest. You can imagine 3 branches of the military in one place. But they did put us in little rowboats and go to another island adjacent to that and let us have beer to drink. And then if they calmed everybody down because, tensions were mounting daily. But anyway, we stayed at Eniwetok as a floating reserve for the 3rd Marine Division, which was fighting on the island of Guam. And we loaded a ship one morning and we took off. We didn't know where we was going. But it seemed like we was flying because we moved about 15 knots in. And we headed to Guam. And we reached Guam. 3rd Marine Division had been fighting there and they took three Marine regiments in a division, and I was with the Ninth Marines. They had 3 camps. They put 2 camps on the beach, 2 beaches, and they put 1 camp in the interior. And I went to the interior of Guam. We fought mosquitoes all the time we was there. And they had a lotion that you apply, but it was a thick, oily lotion. You didn't know whether it was better to get bit by the mosquitoes or put that lotion on. And some did either one. But we got by. You had to, we fought mosquitoes all the time, and other bugs. We slept on canvas cots that usually had a cotton pad on them. And they would have what they call mosquito bar, which was, there's a net that was with posts that go in the cots to suspend the net. We got by there. Only thing about when you're sleeping, you tend to move around a little bit. And indirectly, I mean, your knees and your elbows get in contact with the net, and that's where the mosquitoes land. So you get up in the morning, your elbows are usually swollen, your knees where they've been bitten so much. But, and in those cots, you had to put the legs of the cot in cans of kerosene to keep the crawling bugs from getting to us. But we got through that okay. Guam became the base of operations for the 3rd Marine Division for the duration of the war. We stayed there training. I had never used a flamethrower on Guam, but I carried a flamethrower all over the island on exercises to simulate war. Guam, we was there about a year, really, training. Guam was a heavily forested island, a lot of jungles. We just boarded a ship one day and got out on the sea and sailing, didn't know where it was going until just before we got there, where you could hear the fighting going on the island of Iwo Jima. But we were also there as a reserve for the division. The 4th Marine Division and the 5th Marine Division made the initial assault on beaches on each side of the island. And we stood by in reserve. D+1, we were told to get topside with all our equipment. And they had draped cargo nets over the side of the ship. And they had landing boats down below. And they just climbed down the cargo nets and get in the landing boats, which we did, and headed towards the island.
What was the name of the ship?
Oh, I don't know. A lot of people keep that information, but I didn't take that kind of information. I just know it was a Dutch ship and had a wooden deck on it. But we heading towards Iwo Jima, and you know the sands are black in Iwo Jima because it's a volcanic island. Mount Suribachi, highest point there. The Japanese were firmly entrenched in them caves that they had on the mountain. And they had been there a while. That was a Japanese island before the war. So they'd been there a while. They had Japanese troops there with their dependents there, living there. But we landed on Iwo Jima with no resistance, really. It was when they made the initial invasion where they had all the casualties. There's no shelter on the beach, and I went ashore D+1.
Okay.
Now, like I say, we had no resistance. We went there because the 4th Division had already been through there. But we were marching down the airstrip that had been secured by the 4th Division, and my company commander got shot there, and he was evacuated. The island was so small that they didn't have, normal backup in the division like artillery or aid stations. They had a medical ship offshore that all the casualties went to.